Thank you, John, for inviting us over to interview you on your military career. Um, what is your military career from beginning to end?
My goodness, it happened such a long time ago, it's hard for me to recall, but I'll try the best I can. It goes back to 1944, sometime in the summer. I graduated from college, luckily, and then enlisted in the Navy. And it took a while for me to get my orders to report. I got on a bus and had to go to New York City and then get on a train to Geneva, New York. I think it was called Camp Sampson, where I started with the old good old boot camp. I went through a big boot camp. It must have been, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks of boot camp. And then they sent me at the same location to a quartermaster school. Now, some of you people who have been in the Army think a quartermaster has to do with clothing. A quartermaster in the Navy is a navigator. So I went to navigator school where I learned to navigate by the celestial navigation, which means by the stars and moon and sun and whatnot. And suddenly it was about early October. It looks like I'm going to finish the quartermaster class. I had previously asked my hometown sweetheart if she'd marry me last June, and she said yes, so we thought, what a great opportunity. I got a leave of absence from Sampson. I'll get on a bus and go back to New Jersey where I was born and she was, and we'll get married. It was October 14th, 1944. After that, I had to go back to Sampson for a couple more weeks of, I think it was mat reading or something like that. There was enough time for Gloria to get on a bus and join me in Geneva, New York. She stayed in a hotel. I was still on the base, so we had a few dinners together, and then she went home. My next assignment, I had to go to Newport, Rhode Island, to pick up a crew. At the same time, there was another quartermaster course being offered while my crew was being assembled. It took quite a while to get the 60-man crew all signed up. So I enrolled in another 2 or 3 week advanced quartermaster school. And at that time, the crew was formed, and we were, next time we were gathered in I got a note here, keep my memory right. Went to Norfolk, Virginia, and had a few days while we're gathering to get the crew together to go to where the ship will be. And Gloria came down to visit me, and we had Thanksgiving dinner served by a nice young lady in the house that we were renting a room, and she brought a huge tray of Thanksgiving dinners, and we had the two of us, young newlyweds, nice Thanksgiving dinner on the bed. And that's when I said goodbye, sweetheart, because we're off to Evansville, Indiana by train, where our ship is just being built. It's a brand new ship. We learned it had a hull of an LST. If you sailors remember, the LST looks like a tanker with a superstructure aft. Well, this new ship had a superstructure forward and an extra deck on top. But we still carried quad 40 millimeters front and back, and 50 caliber machine guns on each side of the deck. The extra deck was built because we were going to be assigned another 200 Marines to take them on board, because we had 4 30-foot assault craft on board, because we were part of a total big assignment in the Pacific. It was called Philippine Liberation. So we were part of this big campaign, and we expected to have troops on board and an assault boat to help the landing. However, instead of being a complete LST in the hold of the ship, instead of a room for tanks, we had food lockers. So we were also assigned to take food. So we got on board in Evanston, Indiana. If you remember, that's on the Mississippi River. So we went down the Mississippi River. In order to go down the Mississippi River, even though I was a navigator, we always have to take a pilot on board to navigate down the river. And for some reason or other, we found that we were not allowed to move down the river at night. So late in the evening, we would pull over close to shore and drop the anchor. We were so close to shore that I picked a couple of leaves off the tree and sent them home to Gloria for a little fun. Anyhow, down the Mississippi we went, and we arrived. The first station was New Orleans. For some reason, we were able to stop in New Orleans. We were prepared for shakedown cruise because this was a brand new ship. We did have enough liberty for a couple of days on shore. So I had a good time in New Orleans with about 5,000 other sailors. Back on board ship, got out into the Caribbean for a shakedown cruise. We had to run the ship full blast. It's a little humorous to use that term because the ship's maximum speed was 15 knots. It was a very slow ship. In fact, the LST hull that we carried is similar to the name of the LST for the assault ships that would go ashore. LST, remember, was large, slow target, which is not so funny when you get out to sea. Our next trip was to Galveston, Texas, to stop to take on food and prepare to go through the canal. We took off from Galveston and were warned suddenly of a hurricane coming.